Welcome to the Enterprise Excellence Podcast, where our purpose is to help create a better future. Learn from our world's experts how to improve your organisation sustainably. Learn how to achieve and sustain an excellence journey for yourself, others, and the planet.
And I'm your host, Brad Jevons, coming to you from Brisbane, Australia. We are proudly brought to you in association with SA Partners, a world-leading business transformation consultancy. SA Partners are a truly purposeful company focused on helping organisations achieve sustainable improvement for themselves, others, and the planet. Welcome to episode 97 of the Enterprise Excellence Podcast. It is such a pleasure to have Mr Andy Olrich with us today, continuous improvement and innovation lead at Hunter Water. Andy is passionate about the people and culture side of making excellence journeys stick and succeed. Today we'll explore Andy's journey and a tools versus culture approach to excellence. Let's get into the episode. Andy, thank you so much for joining us today.
Hi, Brad. Thank you very much for the opportunity. It's great to be here.
I appreciate it, mate. Appreciate it. Andy, what's your backstory, mate? Like what got you involved in this path of continuous improvement, and how far back does it go?
Well, I guess my early foundations and things I look back on now is when I was born in regional New South Wales, and both sides of the family were on the land. So I spent a lot of time on farms and working on the farms in between school holidays and things like that. So it was very clear to me early on, and I was part of, the team where ingenuity, making do with less or doing more with less, having a plan and sticking to it, and the discipline around sometimes the long game, paying benefits. I really look back on that and see that that's where I really got started. And when things, come up in front of me now, and I can relate to those, the hard work ethics and, doing what you say and a lot of those things that my family instilled in me. That's definitely things I take with me now in my everyday role, regardless of what process or team I'm working with.
Yeah, that's neat. What part of regional Australia did you grow up in, mate?
So I was born in Armidale, and
nice.
all my family was in Walker. So
Wow.
So they had a 5 uncles, and 4 of them had properties. And so I used to mix around a little bit and go around there. And we used to do a lot of things, all the fun things like working in the shearing shed. And I say that sarcastically, but it was, we did have some good times, digging wild tobacco plants and knotting thistles, rock and stick picking, all those sorts of things. And doing that with my cousins, we certainly got appreciation of, again, as I said, how easy things can be if we actually worked as a team and didn't try and be the fastest to the other side of the hill, or fighting over the best rabbit setter or things like that, because it usually ended up we'd have to go back and have another turn. You get sore hands, and basically we'd leave half the weeds in the ground, or we just missed a lot. So that was a lot of fun, and I certainly look back on that now, and it's a great part of the world. And I've lived in Maitland for most of my life in New South Wales, but it's home. It really is home. So
It's beautiful country for those overseas. It's got highlands and then low flatlands and rain, all sorts of environments, doesn't it? Down to freezing
and very, very cold at times. So there was certainly some cold mornings there, but again, it's kind of where I've come from, and one of my favourite sayings is what my pop used to say is, "There's no point bending your back if you're not going to use your head."
Yeah,
and I use that today, and I just see it as so true. So that's kind of what's helped shape me.
You could hang a whole excellence journey off of that statement. That's awesome. I think too, Andy, if I would be quite a wealthy man if I had $1 for each business improvement, continuous improvement, excellence person I met, which had some sort of upbringing in regional Australia. There's a lot, myself included. I come from regional, and there's a lot of background in that. And I think you're so true with that work ethic. It instills in you and the need to think and really adapt.
And one that's maybe a little bit out of the box too, when we talk about when I first started work, and where I look back to now, is I actually, my kudos to my maths teacher, who halfway through year 11 said to me, "Andy, we've got to get you to meet with a career advisor. You're not being disruptive or whatever." But he just said that I need to find you something more meaningful to do. So that led me down a path to get a an electrical apprenticeship with a small company, and we used to do basic electrical and also refrigeration, air conditioning, but we did appliances. So washing machines, clothes dryers, refrigerators. And I can tell you now, going into people's homes and most times being watched like a hawk, because once again, the dodgy washing machine repair person was on a current affair, or the investigators way back.
Yeah.
Sometimes you're on the back foot, and you had to earn that trust, and you would absolutely have to make sure that you only did what you needed to do with what the customer, the quality they expected at a fair price, no more, no less. And, when people talk to me now and they say things like voice of the customer, I immediately snap back to standing in that laundry with that new mum. The anticipation, you could have cut the air with a knife, and that wasn't just from hoping that I'd repaired it and she was back in action, but also the smell from the nappies in the bucket sitting next to the washing machine. And that's definitely, you're in their space. And I look back fondly now and go, well, that doesn't get much more laser focused on voice of the customer than that. So that's another piece that I didn't see at the time, but I look back now and go, that's definitely core and still rings true.
Yeah, the career parts of our life that shape who we are. Yeah, that's mega. Andy, what brought you into starting to get involved in continuous improvement in businesses and stuff like that?
I was very lucky that I worked for certain organisations that had certain programs established, their way of working, and that provided things around education, but also tools and structure around how meetings or problem solving and things like that were conducted. Some I look back on now and go, oh, that was okay. However, I was really lucky to work for a particular company that really walked the walk and shouted it from the rooftops, and had a global lean program, and a fantastic facilitator who, not only did he see something in me, but very fortunate that my leaders also did, and they gave me the time and the space to be not only be trained in and gain the certification in that program, but take that next step and actually become one of their trainer facilitators, because they needed an ANZ team. So this person from the US, Wes is his name. G'day, Wes. He's but one person. So that was great to get that. And it was what I call the real lean. It was the tools were very basic. It was all around the culture and the standardize and stabilize and not getting too far ahead, but also we need to stretch, but we're going to do this together and make it visible. So I really found, like, coming from an electrician background and refrigeration, I had a lot to do with processes and following diagrams or things like that. But I guess where the real disconnect had to come from me was traditionally something would go bang. I would have to go in there and get it going, and then we'll kind of work out what we do later, depending on the industry, whether that was mining or aluminium or whatever. Whereas it took me a little while to go, okay, well, hang on, when we're approaching process improvement or problem solving, let's not just dive in there. When the times are presenting themselves, how do we step back and take that high level? And that's took some really good coaching, and I still need some reminders on that. But just lucky that I've managed to step out and put my hand up to do these sorts of roles. Some people are happy doing their day-to-day, and good on them. And they're great at it. But I just really felt that this was something more, and especially with the people side of things, and how good that feels when you fix or you improve whatever it is. That everybody's, we do it well. We actually feel really good, and you get a real kick out of that. So that's how I decided to point it and go for it.
Boy, Andy, you ended up in a good company to start with, mate. When you talk real lean, a company that's focused on really stable process to start with, and then root cause, and then involve people, and then I guess scientific thinking from there, like that is good. Not the whole complexity of a million different tools and techniques. It's like just the foundation of it. That's awesome.
Yeah, and there's a time and a place for things like that. I'll put my hand up and say that I am certainly not a Minitab wizard. There's some people who really enjoy that side of it, but then I recognise, and where I would fall down in the Minitab space, they would fall down with the team engagement, or actually going out and working with the multidisciplinary teams, whether that be exec or frontline employees to try and, translate get that information from the floor to put into those systems. So I really find that there's many hands that need to be part of it, but I am more a very visual person. Try and keep it as simple as I can. And the key thing is you've got an army of problem solvers out there, and a lot of the thinking that some people try to do, you may not need to do. You just need to get it out and get the right people to see it. And away you go. So.
And you had a great example the other week. I was working with a mining company, and they were talking about a root cause that was happening up in the offices. And it was actually the GM went for a walk down with one of his leaders and a team member down to where the problem actually happened. And that's where the root cause really was discovered, with the front line involved. And I was like, wow, that's just such a great story. And that relates to what you're saying, I'm guessing.
Yeah. One of the greatest wins I've ever had was a systemic problem. New equipment was put in. We're talking millions and millions of dollars. On time, on budget, it's got to be, and then we'll work that out later. Get it in, get it going, those sorts of things. And I sort of came into it, and I was asked to get involved and lead a process improvement initiative with that, instead of getting more consultants in and we'll spend $500,000 and then tell you what we need to do. So certainly brought a lot of lean tools, things to the floor. But the thing that was the enabler was I went and presented my approach to a crew, and I got absolutely lit up like a Christmas tree by one of the operators there, as in, who's the next person that's going to promise all this, and et cetera, et cetera. And I said to him, well, I'm not promising you anything. All I'm trying to say is this is an approach that's supported, but, I want to maybe take a different approach on this, and let's see what you can tell me, And anyway, I certainly didn't win him over there and then. And when the meeting was finished, he walked out, and I actually followed him out. And I think he was thinking I was going to have words with him, and he didn't get personal. So I was okay. And that wasn't my first rodeo in that space. But I just said to him, I said, what are you doing tomorrow? And he said, the same thing I do every day. I'll be sitting there doing that. And I went, okay, can I come and sit with you? He's like, what for? And I said, well, I know you're cranky, but I see that as passion. And has anyone sat with you before to have a real look at what's going on? And that led down a path where then we started to get an automation partner that was doing it all remotely. They'd have a problem. Yep, let him know. He'll dial in and he'll tell you what you need to do. And I got him to come out. And he was like, oh, what, actually sit there with them? And he said, won't they? They're a bit cranky. And I said, well, this is a path to not being so cranky, but come out. We're sitting in the machine, and he actually had his back to the operator, looking away from all the things that were going on because he was on his laptop. And the machine started to do one of the things. And he said, see, it's happening. And this person said, oh, yeah, just take your finger off that button. He said, I'm not doing it. He said, I'm not touching it. And he said, oh, have another go. So he did that, and it happened again. And this person sort of laughed, and he went, look, if you just took your finger off the button. And this guy said, well, you turn around and have a look for yourself with your own eyes what I'm doing. He did. And he tried again. And this particular person said, hang on, do that again. And he did it. And he goes, I nearly laughed the door down, but it was, oh, gee, it shouldn't be doing that. And this guy just went, are you serious? Like how? And moving forward, probably half the quick wins and leading on to some of the substantial improvements that we managed to get done way under the price of just finding out what we originally were going to do, came from this guy. And it was all the fact that we put the time and effort in to go and sit there with him. And that particular improvement, when we weren't going to get capital or anything like that, when we actually presented it on one page with all the, the detail, out of plan capital was approved that afternoon and was a potential income of about $3 million a year to the organisation for quite. So that I'm sorry if that dragged on a bit, but that is definitely one of the ones that I look back on, and having that courage to follow that person out of the room afterwards and say, well, instead of, well, I'm not going near him again. It had to start somewhere, and I'm really pleased that I did that, because I'm very proud, and he's very sad to see me go, but I'm not there anymore. But he definitely rang me and said, look, you're one that actually helped change my mind about you guys, because usually it's about lean means less employees are needed, and in a bad way. And I said, well, I can't do that. So yeah,
it's neat, isn't it? I guess it's a great lead into the topic today that we're talking about, which is a tools approach versus a cultural approach. When I was first involved in deploying enterprise excellence, I gained so much from being able to connect with global experts like Chris Butterworth, Alex Teo, and Peter Hines. They shared their knowledge, but they also inspired me to keep moving forward and played a big part in what I'm doing now. We can now offer this same opportunity to many of our listeners. We are currently forming the Enterprise Excellence Community. This community is for people practically deploying an excellence journey within their enterprise. The community allows us to link directly with our world's experts each month to learn and grow for an hour. We already have Jeff Sutherland, Jeff Leica, Pascal Dennis, Laurent Somon, and Louis Trigger confirmed for the coming months. For the final hour of the gathering, we then link in small groups with our peers to help each other overcome challenges and continue to move forward towards our vision of excellence and goals within our organisation. To get involved or gain more information, reach out via our website, enterpriseexcellencepodcast.com/contact. We look forward to talking to you soon and working together with our world's experts and each other to create a better future. And like Andy, on that, what have been your key learnings along the way when you look at a tools approach versus a cultural approach?
The thing for me is, and frightens me, is there's so many tools and ways, different iterations of said tool, how you can apply them or how people tell you have to apply them, and you get lost. And if people don't have the basics down as far as the why of what the tool is intended to achieve or what its output is expected to be, you just get a tool and then, if that doesn't work, we'll just get a different one, or we'll change it and then we'll change it for this team. And you just immediately, I'm a big believer in standards. Even if it's a crappy standard, if everybody's doing it the same way, you can kind of predict a bit more what should happen, right? As soon as we start to magnify that out into separate teams, it's so hard to keep control of. So, but the thing is, you're not lean or anything around continuous improvement. It really is around the people development and capability, the problem solving to make it go away forever, not keep having to keep coming in and band-aiding it. And if we don't realize why that tool was originally created or what its outcome is, we're just filling boxes up with data and it's complicated and no one really understands where it fits. And usually people will go halfway through it and go, look, just go and fix it, or just do what you think. I haven't got time for this. So whereas the cultural side of things is they understand and they've had that time to really get that why embedded and truly see where it fits with the organization. It's not about, we'll improve this and then guess what? Potentially some of you are in the torpedo chute. This is to make sure that not only are we successful, but we can provide even more service to customers, which really supports keeping you around or moving you into other spaces to help others. So people believe in it, they understand where they fit in the organization, and then it's like, well, this tool is going to just help me do that particular task. And it's not one size fits all. And we need to make sure that we're aware that, like any tool, it has a purpose and you should be trained in the correct use of that purpose and know your boundaries with it. Because, say, for example, a power saw, if you don't understand what that saw and that blade's meant to do, sooner or later someone's going to get radical with it and the outcome will be quite severe. So that's how I see that. Culture eats strategy for breakfast. You've got to have the people, the hearts and minds, and you certainly can't do that by telling them what to do. So
yeah, that's neat. So foundation of quality or standard, root cause thinking, and really being clear with the why you're applying whatever technique you're applying to educate and train and help them, but to help the employee understand the purpose of the tool, if there is a tool involved, rather than the tool itself. But I guess you're saying too, to be able to use it correctly and to get that purposeful outcome.
Yeah, and it's on me too as well to give them some examples of, this is particularly one, because for example, a DMAIC A3, I refer to it in my discussions as when I first was shown these, I had what I called my Pulp Fiction moment. I was going through it and I'm going, well, hang on, well, where's that fit in? Can't we just go, shouldn't they just go there? And then, but when you're I was kind of forced to let it flow and have to stick with, start here and then go there. It all just came together in the finish and went, oh, wow. Okay, now I totally get it. And that was due to, I had a really good facilitator who was good at articulating that message, but also I had the opportunity to take it for a walk and kind of fail myself. And then for them not to give me all the answers, but then go, come back or think about this a bit more. Remember what this section's all about. And yeah, I'm having a really good experience at the moment with someone I'm training up in that space that has been challenging and going, well, look, I already know what we need to do to fix it. But now we're up to we've just had an analyze phase. And he's going, oh, yeah. He said, I'm just so glad we didn't start fixing things because half of these things we don't even need to do. And I said, hey, you get it, mate. Come on, keep coming with me. And it's great. It's really good.
It sounds, Andy, having that that coach and that capability to coach and support people sort of going through more of a learning journey and a coaching journey is critical to the cultural outcome that you're talking about. Like you see so many times it's just training, isn't it? It's like training. But what you're describing to me there is more of a learning by doing, coaching, supporting, that sort of I do, we do, you do type of approach.
Yeah. And coaching is very important to me. I always, say to people, look, even Roger Federer has a coach. Okay. Like you don't, just because you're number one at that particular time doesn't mean somebody can't offer additional value to help you improve further. And you can go away, you can do it online. And look, some of them are great, disclaimer, but there's a lot of them out there. You can go and do like a 3-day black belt online. You get your digital badge and I'm a black belt. And then I've worked with some people in that space over the years. And when they've got to put it into practice, it's just so far away from what would, what they really should be doing. And you've got to have someone there that's got your back that can, let you go on a bit down the road and then pull you back when they need to. But not every situation is the same. Not every process that I look to improve is the same. And I'm a huge believer in, if people say that this is only for manufacturing, I just really enjoy, I get a kick out of going and saying, well, what's this other thing then? Because I really want to get in and do it there, because if I can do it there and prove to you, and there's so many examples of non-manufacturing where this is absolutely changing the game. And it's just, as I said, putting it in front of people to give them real examples that they can touch and feel and go, well, that's okay. I'll give it a chance. So
I think the biggest insight for me, Andy, was the amount of IT world people that saw that agile is totally different to lean. And then also the amount of manufacturing and, supply chain world that thought that agile's completely different and something else. It's like, well, no, they come from the same,
the
same base and foundation. And, I guess agile's had its birth in white collar, and yes, lean's associated with operations.
Yeah.
But no, it's all connected.
And I love the Jeff Sutherland book. That was my first sort of foray into Scrum. And when it talked about lean and its foundations, it's just like, when we talk about change management and things like that, we've got some really good programs where I am now around change capability improvements. And I just look at all of the material and I go, well, take out change management and put continuous improvement in there. It's respect for people. It's taking them on the journey. It's, trialing these things. And what I like about Scrum too and the Agile approach is you're constantly handing something over. You're not doing 2 years of digging a hole and then go, well, actually we'll just stop. And that just throws half the audience away. Then they're going, well, I'll just keep chipping away with these little things because, anything big is a problem and we won't even finish it, I don't think, because things will change. So you're part of a bigger picture, but you're taking bites out of it. And I love it. So it's a good call out.
Yeah, it's certainly that. I guess that's why I take my draw on enterprise excellence from the likes of Peter Hines and Chris Butterworth and the Shingo Institute, but I guess it's definitely why I've called this podcast Enterprise Excellence, because it covers any enterprise or anything that you could talk about, really, the stuff that we're talking on.
Yeah. And I fully embrace lean and I see it for what it is, but I still at times find myself going, I've got this continuous improvement approach. Like it's still in some places because it's been done so wrong and we've just tried to bolt things on that aren't, fit for purpose for what they do. you kind of find yourself having to use a different. So I think enterprise excellence, those kinds of phrases is, enterprise. And what I say to people that is with the Toyotas of the world or the manufacturers and things like that is, well, they have a people and culture department. They have a finance department. They have, logistics and supply chain and all those things. Just because they're the main thing that everyone, they're there to make a car. They don't just do it there. They do it. It's org wide and enterprise.
Yeah, it's neat. Andy, like we've covered having that baseline of a standard, getting capability and root cause in running improvement cycles, and also the coaching capability to be able to really coach and truly help people rather than just the old train and out the door with your certificate type of thing, which is I totally agree with. But I want to wind back to that standard piece. Like one thing I see as a real challenge in Australia, and I don't know about worldwide, is being able to get that baseline of we are following a standard and we're not just fighting fires and doing what we want to just all over the place. What have you found works there, mate? Because I'd pose that that's one of the hardest bits I've seen. And I just talk from the Australian culture.
Yeah, it is. It's that there's that tipping point where if we want to develop a standard or get people up to doing it the same way, there can be quite a lot of work involved and hearts and minds to change just to get to that point. And they've got to do extra work to get to that point in amongst everything else, all the fires and things like that. And I certainly, I don't certainly have all the answers or success stories. The things that have worked for me is we've just got to find. I always say things like my friend I referred to earlier at the other organisation around seek out the hard heads. So go and find the ones that are just furious with something, and they can kind of help you understand where the real good starting point is, and all the things that flow up from that would you could help out. Or go meet the people where they are and find the area of need. So and then just say, look, okay, well, we can't change this whole process, but this particular piece here, let's start here and get people familiar with. We'll just get that cadence and see how that goes. Make it visual. So whatever we can do to help people see not only where it fits, but when they're doing it, and we have a system in place that helps us understand when we're not doing it. It's really about making sure that you get not just one person's opinion, the number one operator or the number one person in the office or whatever. You make sure that you give people a chance to come together and work out, the outcome is we need a standard for this. However, we know, and that's okay that you're all doing it differently, but we need to just agree on something, and you have my support that if we do it this way and it's not perfect, that's okay, because we're coming back and we're going to keep improving and improving. If we don't have that follow-up and that piece where we actually go and have a look at if we are following the new standard, it's just, you've just changed something, and people will, thing within 72 hours, they'll start to tear it down. So there's a few, maybe I have not answered that well, Brad, I'm sorry. But it's around, you've got to meet people where they are, and what really should we standardize first, and or just find the old standard and work out why we're not doing that. There may be a standard there. Why is no one following it? And
I really like what you said, mate. And I think, targeting your effort where there's the biggest pain to the operator, which is going to give you gain for your customer too, and use the standardized work to get that, but then have your PDCA cycle on the standard. Are we actually continuing it? Because like you said, I guess anyone who's ever tried to start running after not running for a long time and get up early, when you're trying to do something a bit different, it doesn't just stick straight away, does it?
Especially if you don't understand why. Why am I changing? Like everyone's the chart says we're green. Why are you doing this to us? I think that we're doing well. People think I'm a good person and all, and it's really making clear that, and hopefully you've got some customer insights there to support that and say, well, look, it's not just the leader that says, look, I just want to see how far you can take it. You're showing that you're reaching out to the customers, or where the greatest needs are, to say, well, actually now this is important to them, and which should be important to us and how we look. So I think, and pointing out too that there's already standards. If they're kind of averse to having standards, well, point out what standards are currently in place, and especially the ones that they enjoy working with, and they understand that, okay, so you just want us to do it like the same. Okay. And we'll go from there, like we did with that over there. Yeah. And then we'll improve. And there's people around to spot you, or we can dial it back if it's a step too far.
Yeah, that's cool. And I like how you bring in that standard, but then to the visualization of that standard, I guess that's where maybe, a tool like 5S thinking can help, in that, to visualize it in the workplace and all that other, the visual process maps and whatever suited to actually get the purpose, the outcome you're after.
Yeah.
For the employee.
Yeah.
Andy, with organizations, mate, what have you found over the years stops them taking this approach that you've mentioned, the approach of, get a standard, embed and create capability at root cause, coach and develop people, scientific thinking, visualization where you need, but with the purpose of we're serving customers or we're serving some bigger purpose. What have you found stops organizations taking that path?
Leadership and the clarity provided to leadership that this is important and this is maybe something that we should potentially change our approach. Or if, for example, if it's all about the dollar or those sorts of things, which don't worry, that is important, but it's around the leaders need to believe as well. And when they say they want to deploy something or, embed something, or that they seek out the right resources and people to give them the true picture of what effort and investment is required, and especially the duration for this. There's some conversations I've had around, we'd love you to come in and deploy Lean in 12 months, 12-month contract. Like, it's just out of the blue. And I'm going, well, as soon as you said that, I've got no chance. That multi-year thing, and it's so true. So the leaders, look, they need the skills and capability, and it's important, I think, for them, if they're going to deploy training systems, processes, that they get schooled up in it as well, so they can be relied upon as not only a coaching resource, but they can walk around and see whether it's happening or not. And it's always good when it's very hard to connect. People on the front line naturally find it hard to connect with what the executive does up there. What do they do up in the boardroom and with all their boardroomy stuff? But if they're engaged in a discussion where they're talking about the same process or doing something a certain way, and they know that they know, it's powerful. And that's that cultural thing of going, well, it's not just us down here that have to put things back on these silly boards or whatever. It's like when I go into that leader's office, one of the best MDs I've ever worked for, I went over to his facility in Western Australia to meet him, and he said, rightio, first thing is you're going to do a 5S audit of my office. And I was like, oh, okay. And he didn't do the royal clean. And he would always say, well, I can't expect you to do it if I don't do it myself. And by the same token, we knew he would come over and have a look in our corner of the paddock, but he was really good at making sure that he took the time across certain initiatives that, for example, an idea was raised and implemented, and it was something quite insignificant as far as cost and transformation of the business, but he walked into the plant and he looked at it and he said, where's such and such? Oh, he's out there on the forklift. Okay, I'm going to go and talk to him about his idea. So we were sharing for him that, hey, look at that idea that's come in and everybody's happy and rivers of chocolate and all those sorts of things. But he would go, I'm just going to go and have a talk to this person one-on-one, and I'm going to ask them some pointed questions around, do you believe that you were supported well? Is there anything I can do to help? Can you show me it? Any challenges in sustaining that I can, we can report back. And so everyone was on notice that this person absolutely lived and breathed it. That's the sort of stuff that's saying what interests my boss fascinates the hell out of me. And
very true.
They inspect what they expect. All those catchphrases are so true. If you actually get a leader that does that, you get in behind them, and you know that you're not just some crazy trying to, a lot of CI, PI professionals kind of sit in the middle of the organization, and they might have a team of 0, and they might report to someone like an ops manager or something like that. You've got no stick whatsoever. It's all about trying to guide and influence, but stroke of a pen can just rub you out sometimes in certain organizations. But when you've got the top of the tree coming in and everyone's clear that this is just how we do it here, but we're not done yet, we're going to improve, the game changes. Whereas if you've got, as I said, you guys do that out there, we'll do that in here, and don't question me or whatever, it's just not going to work. And it is a real fear-based approach, then rather than this is about you and helping you guys.
Yeah, too true. So that really, I'm hearing that executive buy-in and support, executive capability so that they understand the journey, and then executive capability at leading from the front, getting out and learning and understanding and throwing that constant energy at the journey.
And I think they, I really see when we have those closer interactions, they enjoy it. It's like, oh, this is great. Going out and having a look. It's, and I've heard the comments going, so this is what you guys get up to out here. And they apologize sometimes. They go, look, I need to get out here more because that's not what the chart's telling me. Like, how am I letting you work like this? This isn't fair. And I'm worried about you. Sometimes it's like, that's dangerous, guys, but that's on me because I can see that the system is kind of forcing you to work this way. Go to Gemba. I think you've got to walk the walk.
Yeah, walk the walk, learn. And then I guess you're describing a leader that's willing to take action and help things evolve and improve or coach and develop too, versus a leader that is willing to go out and do a learn and walk, but then do nothing with it.
Yeah, or can you put these actions in, or find out who, and that's who owns that process, and they've got to fix it. Whereas vulnerable leadership, leading with humility, those sorts of values and ways of thinking, it's so refreshing. And I want to work for people who come in and go, okay, you're the CI and I lead. First stop, I got no idea what a lot of that stuff is that you do, but I would like you to teach me along the way because I can't just expect this to go away and happen because there's certain key points where I need to make sure that I'm across what's going on and that we're on track and how can I help? So, I love saying to people that first of all, here's all the things I don't know about what you do. And at the moment that I'm telling you what to do, that I feel that I'm not doing my job well. It's about getting the improvements and what you believe are the best things that the how, I guess, to help us deliver the what. As soon as I start saying, oh, look, you should go and put this in or whatever, I feel I've crossed the line in my space.
Too true. Andy, what motivates you now, mate? Like, what are you focused on going forward yourself?
I'm really keen to see when we talk about the hybrid new ways of working, this new world that we're living in. I really want to see how far we can take it and leverage the things that were probably 10 years away that are here now with technology, but also not losing sight of that critical human interaction aspect where if it's all about the tools and the tech, as we've discussed, the key part around the people on the human side is not going to be there. So where I'm at now, I'm blown away by the systems and tools that we've got now for how we can interact. And we're starting to bring people back to the office in these neighborhood arrangements, which is collaborative workspaces. And it's just really cool they've not only said, we're just going to ride COVID out. This is our opportunity to change the game. And it's for me, I love working for an organization that gives me that flexibility to do some time here, but also at home if I need to. Predominantly, I like to not do this job from the desk, but there's days where you've got to do that deep work. And they are really, there's been a lot of engagement around, okay, if you were to work in this space, what do you need from us, technology or systems, or just so they don't go and go, right, everybody, you're working in that office now, or you got to work in that workshop now, and off you go. There's a lot of engagement and consultation with, obviously, the safety aspect is front of mind as well. The other thing is I'm currently embarking on a CI and innovation maturity assessment. It's very critical to me. I have a strategy, right? But I really want to, for myself, but also for leadership, where are we right now? Where are we? And by the numbers, not by the statements or the feel or the vibe. It's, okay, look, it's not going to be a perfect measure, but we can benchmark ourselves against certain things. This is what it looks like. And here's some examples of what that particular score looks like in the business and what this one looks like, for us to be comfortable then to say, well, if we're going to go from a 2 to a 4, we understand that's a 4, and we're clear on what we need to do and resource and those sorts of things, because I don't want to take it too hard, and I certainly don't want to drag the chain if I can avoid it. So I'm really keen to, and we're currently working through that process now, and that's quite exciting, talking to a lot of different people, up, down, sideways. And one thing that's on my mantle for this year is to get together an org-wide CI platform around ideation, resources and things like that. So that to sort of break down a lot of those silos where people are doing they're doing some amazing work and improvements, but it's not visible. And sometimes we might have 3 people trying to do the same thing. So leveraging, as I said, the new ways of working, but also getting these core fundamental things in the organization to help us see and plan for the future. That's my focus. Yeah.
That's awesome. You're building the PDCA cycle for your excellence journey. That's cool. That's really cool. Andy, with the path forward, mate, in this episode we've covered, what would be your 2-minute enterprise excellence tip for listeners in your area of expertise?
The key things I'd say, and I've touched on them, is to stay humble, reflect often, and take the people with you. We have so much to learn from each other. And, we must be engaged with each other to see where the opportunities lie, and we can really seek out the systems and solutions as a team. Now, I know that kind of sounds like, it might sound a little bit too much mayonnaise on top of it, but I honestly believe that if we are going to get it right, it's going to take time. It's a marathon, not a sprint, but there's things we can do right now. And having engaged teams, some good support system structure and some visibility over not only where you are, but where you want to go and where people fit in, that helps declutter a lot of the noise, I guess. It stops us from getting involved and doing that extra bit of work to take it over that tipping point to then go, okay, well now I've got more time, or this person's actually coming to help me now, or we're working on this together. So yeah, that would be my tip, is to follow those processes. And certainly can't say I've done it every day, everywhere, but that's where I'm going, and hopefully It works for me too.
It's really cool, mate. Really cool. Andy, what's been a recent insight for you, mate? What's been a recent learning, something that you didn't know before?
I guess I'd summarize that with the earth is flat. I'm just amazed at how connected we can be to each other as I've discussed, with the technology and information and where we can take ourselves to look at things. But I found myself at times getting excited and tripped up as I spoke about that human side of things. I certainly went down the path and was really found myself in there and turned around, and I was kind of standing there on my own. And it was just, I was in another dimension compared to where other people were and where we should have been. So for me, it's exciting times, and we've got all the tools and things at our fingertips, I think, that we could ever really need. But don't forget about your teammates and keep looking back on yourself and go, well, hang on, if I didn't have this 3-month journey to this point, or the training and skills that I have, would this make sense to me? And why am I trying to make this decision? Oh, that's not what I'm here to do. Right? Try not to. I really found myself and put my hand up and went, that's walk it back, Andy. You've got a bit excited, champ.
I've been there before, Andy.
I'll get there again. I know. I just
same.
You get so passionate, and you got to stop and look back every now and then.
Yeah, too true. Well, Andy, mate, I really appreciate everything you've done, mate, and everything you'll continue to do going forward, mate, and helping us create a better future. Mate, how can people reach out to you if they want to connect and learn more?
So I have a LinkedIn profile that I use for initial reach out. So it's just search Andy Olrich on LinkedIn, and feel free to drop me a message and we can connect. And as I said, I'm working at Hunter Water, and I'm very, very happy to be there. However, sometimes with the emails, and it's a pretty slick firewall there. So if people are just going to try and find me and shoot me an email through there with attachments or whatever, it's probably not going to be the best. Too
true. LinkedIn's a good path, isn't it?
Start there.
Andy, thank you so much, mate. Really appreciate it. Thanks for helping us create a better future, mate.
Brad, thank you. Thank you very much for having me here.
Cheers, mate. See ya. Go to enterpriseexcellencepodcast.com/downloads to get hold of a Leading from the Front Gamble worksheet that you can use to help your leaders develop skills in this critical area that Andy discussed, being able to go to the front and truly understand. Please like, subscribe, and share this podcast to help others gain insights and create a better future. There were 2 key takeaways for me from this episode. The first was the power of just going to the front to truly understand, rather than try to make decisions from the top or based on information that's fed up. Andy really spoke about the techniques he uses in this area to truly get to the depth of the problem and then work with frontline team members to solve problems and overcome challenges. This is an amazing cultural approach, but also an amazing approach of going to where we truly create value and understanding how we can help people to enhance that value for customers and also make things better for themselves. The second key takeaway for me was the power and importance of coaching. How to help people where the work's being done truly grow capability and develop to progress themselves and also progress the process and improve and make things better for customers, others and the planet. There's such a critical technique, coaching, that I see over and over again in so many organizations as a key area of development now and ongoing. Find a coaching model that really works, some coaching training, and then develop capabilities at coaching the coaches. Developing your leaders to be leaders of leaders and develop coaching capability right throughout the organization. Thanks again for a great episode, Andy. Thanks for all the knowledge and thanks for helping us create a better future. Bye for now.